Welcome back, everyone, once again to a new installment of Screenplay Rewind. I'm Jeff.
I'm Ron.
How's it going, bro?
It be going.
We got delayed a few days. I swear to God, I don't remember how to do this.
Forever.
I feel like it's been a fucking century since we last recorded.
Yeah, I guess because I do a lot of the editing, it always feels like I just did this.
you just fucking. I just subjected humanity
Because
to this trash, and I'm back doing it again. I have no soul.
Because we record, and then a week later I do the edit, and then it comes out a week after that. So yeah. I always feel like I'm doing something every week with it, but this time
you get added to a new watch list every time.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a minute.
Yeah, it definitely has. But this week we have a question. So if you ever want a prompt or a question to appear on the show and discussed by Ron and myself, because we will discuss, as the prior episodes have confirmed, literally anything.
Literally anything. Whether you write in or not, we'll do it.
Yeah. You can hit us up on Twitter at SPR Filmcast. You can drop some comments on if you found us through YouTube. We occasionally browse the comments on there, usually for trolls, so we can make fun of the trolls on the recordings.
Goddamn right.
Because I am not beneath that. You think I'm beneath yelling at random people on the internet? Have you seen me play video games online? That's all I do. It's like half my time. All right. What's our question this week, Ron?
My wife Christina asked if we have a favorite edit 1, 2, 3 favorite what am I looking for? Natural disaster movie. Yes.
Not James Cameron's Avatar.
Yeah. Sadly.
Yeah.
So that is the automatic answer.
It's got to be natural, not man-made. Take a drink because we referenced how much we hate James Cameron's Avatar.
James Cameron.
And it only took 2 minutes.
New record.
Gone at 120 seconds. All right. So I am actually surprised she asked this because these types of movies don't feel like they'd be Chris's cup of tea. Does she secretly like natural disaster movies or something?
Not particularly. We were talking about something. I don't remember how it came up or what it was that led to this.
Talking about how the world is perpetually ending.
How we live in a constant disaster.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The world is such a fuck up. People couldn't see their Twitter DMs yesterday. It's just the end of times.
I'm sad now.
Do you want me to go ahead and answer this since you proposed it?
Yeah. What is your answer?
Okay. So these are not my cup of tea. There are very few of these I typically like. The one that I am going to use as my answer, I haven't seen in a bajillion years. It's just the one that I probably have the most fond memories of because it's one. I think I've talked about this before, specifically with how I think I talked about how the first Brendan Fraser Mummy movie was one of my grandma's movies she put on rotation where it's fucking playing 50 times over the weekend nonstop, and I will end up having watched this movie 20 times over the course of 3 days. So one of those movies that was in that rotation where, hey, it's the weekend, here's a movie that's gonna be playing for 25 straight viewings, go fuck yourself. Dante's Peak.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Dante's Peak.
That's mine.
That's yours?
That's mine.
No shit. We picked the same fucking movie.
We picked the same movie. I fucking love that movie. Fuck all of you.
One of us is going to have to change.
Unzip me.
Unzip me. Yeah. So I haven't seen it since probably the early aughts. Probably
I watch it about once a year.
I probably watched it last 20 years ago.
Yeah, so if I watch it about once a year.
If I watched it now, I don't know what I would think about it. I probably would still like it just because I have nostalgia for it, because it was one of those, the first Mummy movie I talked about, how it would be playing on rotation, and I never got bored of it. I just liked it. It still has some, pretty, haunting scenes that stick out to me. The one that I think of is it the grandma?
Row your boat gently down the stream.
Is that the grandma who's, walking them through the
acid
boiling...
lake?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just fucked up. Like I still remember that scene to this day. It's been 20 years, and I was like 10 when I watched it last.
Do you remember them driving across the lava as the tires pop and the rims are melting, trying to get across?
Oh yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure it is Dante's Peak that gave me a perpetual fear of compound fractures. Is it like towards the end where his
God, yes, in the mine?
In the mine, his like arm bone is sticking out, and I'm like, that's no good.
That may be the first time I saw that in a movie, to be honest.
It's brutal.
I was just like, oh, that could happen?
It could happen to James Bond. It could happen to anybody, bro.
I do not understand the criticism of that movie. Everyone hates that movie so much and makes fun of it all the time. And it is such a good movie.
I feel like that's just about, I'm not saying they're all good, but the natural disaster types of movies, I feel like are always the cinematic punching bag. It feels like hardly any of them actually end up doing well critically, even the ones that are, not like incredible movies, but somewhat decent. They still get just absolutely fucking destroyed by critics. So it's just like, it's just kind of a weird genre.
I've got one podcaster I listen to. Anytime that movie comes up, he's like, yeah, that's the one where Pierce Brosnan, I guess, punches a volcano or something. Somehow he beats up a volcano. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Also, side note, I would watch that movie.
I would watch that movie, yes. The thing is about disaster movies I think people don't like is the good ones, we lose. Like, it's a natural disaster. There's only one natural disaster we may be able to thwart, and that is an asteroid impact. All the others, we lose. And I don't know if that has something to do with it, because that's a staple of the genre. Everybody dies.
Yep.
In Dante's Peak, that whole city gets wiped out. Like, many people die in that movie. It is
they're
such
like
a well-done
modern
movie.
fucking Pompeii. Like, they're fucked.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch like in a different vein of natural disaster? Did you ever watch that movie Contagion?
I never got around to Contagion.
So I have been like, ever since COVID happened, I have been really curious about going back and watching that because I kind of wanted to see it because the cast is good. And I just never got around to it. And I feel like in post-COVID world, that movie would hit like fucking hard.
Oh,
like
in 2020, Contagion, Pandemic and Outbreak were like topping all the streaming charts.
Yeah.
In 2020.
I feel like I saw Outbreak. That's the one that started by the monkey, right?
Yes, I love that movie.
I watched it also a long, long time ago, so I don't really remember it that well, but I have seen that. But yeah, I've been curious about going back to Contagion. Another one that's actually a show that I just like recently started. Have you heard of Station 11?
No.
Station 11 is a post-apocalyptic series on HBO that just started within the last year or so, based off of a novel.
HBO seems to have a lot of those lately.
Yeah, HBO's been having some good stuff lately. The first episode, so like the gist of it is it's set 20 years in the future after a super flu has pretty much like wiped out humanity. And the first episode of that show really, really like hits differently post-COVID. Because I'm assuming the book happened before COVID happened, but watching the show and watching that story play out, it just like really, really hits home. And you think back to like in those early days of the pandemic, like going to the grocery store, and it felt like the fucking apocalypse, you know? It was just like such like a weird feeling, you know, even going outside and like having like your groceries delivered by like one of the people coming outside. It just always felt like, I just look back on it and it was just like so unnerving. And it like just really, really captures that feeling and makes me think of it. It's like a really, really, really haunting way that I recommend. It's been a pretty good show. Did you have any? So your first answer was Independence Day, right? But then Chris voided all aliens.
Then she voided all aliens. Then it was all monsters. Like, I just couldn't fucking win, man. Finally, I got down to Pierce Brosnan punching a volcano, I guess.
Yeah, that's a pretty good consolation prize, I'd say. Once he punches the volcano, does the GoldenEye theme start up like the tank scene? As he just busts the volcano in a tank.
Best.
God, this is the greatest movie of all time. I still want to fucking see. Oh God,
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Is it Black Adam that Pierce Brosnan's in as Dr. Fate?
Yes.
I never saw that. I only wanted to see it for him as Dr. Fate, and I feel like I'll probably never get around to it because it's on HBO and I have yet to fucking watch it. But I want to. Did you ever see that?
No, I want to, but I haven't got to it yet. I hear nothing but bad things, which means I'll love it.
Oh yeah, it'd be your movie of the year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Dr. Fate punches a volcano. It's fucking badass, dude. That's so funny that we picked the same fucking movie, though.
I did not see that coming. I fully expected that you had never seen that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I've seen it because of my fucking grandma. I've seen it like 1,000 times, dude. I could probably, even though I haven't seen it since probably 2003, around that time, I could probably still quote scenes because my grandma only watched one movie on a loop until she got to the next movie. That was just my life anytime I visited grandma's house.
At least hit the shuffle button.
I know. Can we double feature The Mummy and Dante's Peak? No.
The one that's awful is Volcano.
That's the Tommy Lee Jones one, right?
Oh, God, it's so bad.
So what makes that one bad? Because I also remember watching it.
Well, one, they
remember
beat the
not really-
volcano.
They what? Sorry?
For one, they beat the volcano.
Only James Bond can beat the volcano, man.
Right?
Come on.
But it pops up in Los Angeles, and it's Tommy Lee Jones, like, winning against the volcano. They divert the lava, they do all these things, and somehow stave off a volcanic eruption. It's bad. Everything they do, none of it makes sense.
So it's like one of those where even though it is a disaster flick from the like mid to late 90s, it was dumb even for those dumb days. That's pretty bad.
It was bad. It's like TV movie bad, and I believe it was in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, if it had Tommy Lee Jones in it in the 90s, it was in theaters. Because, like, he was basically A-list back then. You know, like, pretty good run there in the 90s, like, with The Fugitive and all that shit. But, yeah. I like how we went on, like, a 10-minute Dante's Peak. I didn't foresee a 10-minute Dante's Peak conversation coming out of this topic. But
only on this podcast do you head off Inglourious Basterds with 10 minutes of Dante's Peak discussion.
Yeah. You gotta use that. Gotta get that Dante's Peak, that little Pierce Brosnan foreplay going. You know, like before we started the Tarantino talk, we gotta start off with the foreplay before we get to the feet scenes. Yeah, which are in this movie.
Of course.
Spoiler alert.
Feet.
There's a lady foot scene in a Tarantino flick. Never would have guessed it. But yeah. Thanks again, Chris, for proposing the question. I can't fucking believe we picked the same movie.
I can't believe that either.
That's more. Okay, so here, just real quick before we move on, what's like your runner-up after Dante's Peak?
Oh man, there's so many good ones.
Any of the recent, the person who became like the new poster child for these is Gerard Butler. That's like all Gerard Butler does. He does the Olympus movies, and then he does the disaster flicks, and he's in like 20 of them.
I've never seen any of the Olympus movies. I saw Geostorm, and while those are natural disasters, they are natural disasters that are man-made. So that was out.
I still feel like that kind of counts because like that's his whole like shtick now. It's
a machine that he created that controls weather. Gerard Butler is a scientist now.
I still say that's a natural disaster. I mean, if you let Gerard Butler go in science, I feel like that's just a natural disaster. We're just waiting to happen.
My runner up, I love it. It's stupid. It has its problems. The cast had issues with it. I love it though. It's got to be Armageddon.
My favorite thing about Armageddon is that Ben Affleck commentary bit where he talks about
drunk.
Where he's talking about how he went to Michael Bay and he's like, "Hey man, wouldn't it make a lot more sense to teach the astronauts how to drill instead of vice versa?" And then Michael Bay just said, "Go fuck yourself, Ben."
He told him to shut up and do his fucking job or something, didn't he?
Of course he did, because he's Michael Bay.
Yeah, it has its problems, but that movie is fun. I don't care what anyone says. That's
a great cast.
Like, that cast in that
awesome
movie
cast.
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
By the way, I looked up Outbreak. Speaking of cast, this is the short list. Dustin Hoffman, Rene Russo, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey. Take that as you will. Cuba Gooding Jr. Also take that as you will. Donald Sutherland, Patrick Dempsey.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's the short list. Like,
that's crazy.
Wolfgang Petersen's the director.
Whatever happened to Wolfgang? I feel like he just like stopped making movies all of a sudden.
I think he just walked away. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I saw that name and I was like, holy shit, I remember you.
Didn't he do? Oh God, what's the one with Clooney? Perfect Storm? Was that one? Did you ever see that?
He did Enemy Mine.
Oh, he directed that?
He directed Enemy Mine. Poseidon, the remake of Poseidon Adventure. Which, by the way, when I Googled end of the world movies, I got Twin Towers, Poseidon, Poseidon Adventure, and Titanic over and over. I'm like, no, those are end of boat movies or end of building movies. Like,
yeah, what? So the natural disaster is a fucking iceberg? Is that what we're talking about here? It's like, that makes no fucking sense.
Titanic was on every list, whether it was so originally the question was natural disasters that end the world, and I Googled end of world movies and got these. Then when we switched to natural disasters, I still got those same movies.
To be fair, giving James Cameron
the iceberg was innocent. It was minding its own fucking business.
To be fair, giving James Cameron $3 billion for Titanic did chain reaction start the end of the world. I'm convinced. That's where we went wrong. We gave him too much money.
He raised the bar too fucking high. He needs to lower the bar back down.
He needs to calm the fuck down. Just, get back to a reasonable level and stop making Avatar movies, please, for the love of God. By the way, since we have to rant about it just on every episode now, apparently, did you see Avatar 2 past Infinity War for box office sales?
Ugh.
I'm telling you, bro. Like that is a worse sign of humanity ending than like anything anything else. That's almost worse than people voting Donald Trump into the White House to me.
Almost.
Almost. It's just it's right there, and
it'd
it makes
be like
me
putting
so
James
fucking
Cameron
sad.
in the White House.
Makes me so fucking sad, dude.
You know what might happen though?
He finds the bar.
Since we've been in the digital age, it has not been uncommon for movies to be re-released just to reclaim their title. So Infinity War, or if it passes Endgame or whatever, might get put back in theaters just to beat Avatar.
Yeah, I think Endgame had it, and then they re-released Avatar, and then it took it over. But they'll eventually release Endgame again, hopefully. I will go see Endgame 500,000 times just to make it past Avatar, dude. That just hurts my soul.
Didn't they do that when Endgame originally left theaters? Didn't they put it right back in when something else had come out? I don't remember what. Didn't they put Endgame in theaters like 3 times now total?
Probably.
I want to say, like, in the age of digital cinema, when you can just beam your movie out and you don't need to dig up prints or print new prints and ship them, that happens a lot more these days.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Speaking of physical prints, let's talk about Inglourious Basterds, Ron. By the way, when you got to see like the close-up shot of the splicer, it just take you back to your Cinemark days, as it did for me. I was like, man, I missed that job.
Yeah, but we didn't have to glue the film together.
That would fucking suck, dude.
Could you imagine?
Back in the fucking dark ages, dude.
I'm so glad that by the time I was doing changeover, it was computer controlled.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
But I mean, it was still an art form when we were doing it, but projection back then.
You legitimately had to know your shit.
You were literally an artist.
Yeah.
You were literally an artist. It was a full-on fucking trade. Leave it to Quentin Tarantino, though, knowing his love of not only feet, but theaters and cinema, to make a movie that the world hinges on a movie theater and a projectionist.
Yeah. This is the most
Tarantino thing I think he's ever done.
It's really funny. Okay, again, if I didn't already mention it, full spoilers for Inglourious Basterds. This movie is so bonkers. If you somehow have been like Ron and gone this long without seeing it, some of the shit that happens in the movie is just like so fucking bonkers and so Tarantino, you kind of just need to go see it, I think. So he actually had started the script in 1998. Like
Jesus.
this was his thing that he'd been working on for like fucking ever. He had actually so he wrote the script in 1998. He could never come up with an ending for it, and then he just went and made Kill Bill. I don't know how you 180, because like Kill Bill is very Tarantino.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you get out of the mind space that this is. Like you said, this like fucking Inglourious Basterds is the Quentin Tarantino bingo card. It's just everything, and I think that's why I love it so much. But so what was your initial reaction to this? Because I'm fascinated, because this is just such like a fucking weird movie that I love it, but it's fucking out there. And I feel like if you're not in the bag for Tarantino stuff, like this can like put you off. This actually did a lot better critically and just kind of like word of mouth than I honestly expected it to when I first saw it. Because when I first saw this in the theater, I was like, I love this movie. This is so fucking, like I said, it's like the Tarantino fucking bingo card. I could see a lot of people not liking it because it's just kind of out there in ways that only he can make a movie. So what was your like initial reaction to this?
I'm pretty lukewarm on it. It's okay. I'm not.
And that's the end of this podcast. So thanks everybody.
Yeah, it's okay.
Elaborate.
I mean, I wasn't really missing anything. I'm not like disappointed or sad that I watched it, but I wasn't really missing out either. I don't know.
That's disappointing to me. I think this has a couple of the best scenes he's ever written.
I mean, maybe on a scene by scene basis, but as a movie, I don't know, it just didn't really do it for me. It didn't feel like it had any cohesion. I didn't know what the fuck I was watching. Every chapter felt like its own different movie that was just glued together.
Yeah, it makes sense that the movie came together over a very, very long time with like different drafts, because he ended up having different, basically like movies written, and then he ended up kind of like hodgepodging his favorite aspects of it together. I love this movie, but I was just talking about, I cannot begrudge anybody for disliking it, or just kind of like, it's also one that I think, because it's so weirdly constructed, I do think watching it multiple times helps, because you start to like kind of like pick up on what he's doing, and as far as like how the characters end up, because it's like, so like for instance, if you're watching the movie for the second time, you know how the characters are all eventually going to interact with one another. When you're watching it for the first time, you're like, what the fuck does this have to do with the Bastards? You know, like, what does this have to do? Because but it's, I actually kind of like how it's kind of two revenge stories, as far as like all of the Bastards trying to, you know, do this, what's essentially like an assassination attempt on Hitler and all these other like, you know, Nazi higher ups and everything. In addition to just like the more like personal revenge story going on with Shoshana. I always thought that was kind of cool how he kind of had basically like two movies like interwoven together.
So my take was, if you take the Bastards themselves out, does this movie really change? Like, I felt like they weren't necessary.
But there's to me, like, they just kind of make the movie just because of how fucking weird, like, you sort of talk about, like, I think the last like 30 minutes where it's just Hans Landa fucking with the Bastards, like Gorlami. I just find all that shit like hysterical as they're in the theater, and he's clearly onto them from the start. Like they have like such like a shitty plan, and they know it, but they're just like, fuck it, we gotta go try to kill Hitler, and he's just there fucking with them, trying to figure out a way to like get himself out of the situation, because he's not actually that committed to the Third Reich and everything. Yeah.
So Brad Pitt annoyed me through this entire movie.
Really?
I don't know what that accent is he's doing, but it was just grating. I couldn't listen to it.
Oh, I think he's hysterical in this movie.
Then just to find out they did it for that one punchline in the theater, with his Italian, with the way how bad his Italian is. I was just like, come on. I endured this for that.
I see. I could not disagree more. I think he's hysterical the entire time. I love him.
To me, the movie was it Shoshana? How do you say it?
Shoshana, yeah.
Shoshana. To me, the movie was her versus Christoph Waltz, and that was the movie. Like all the rest of it, you could just throw away.
Interesting. So I think it's now it is like a weird tone combination because the bastard scenes are very like cartoonish and over the top, and then her scenes. So like what I was talking about earlier, and Tarantino has said this is his favorite thing he's written. I think the opening scene of this movie of him going into the guy's house.
That's the strongest part of the entire movie is this opening. And that's why when we got past that, I think it just let me down from there because that opening was so fucking strong.
This is to me the best thing he's ever written. That was the movie I
wanted.
The first 20 minutes of Christoph Waltz, and like in true Tarantino fashion, it's just 20 minutes of people talking. And I could not be more on the edge of my seat the entire time. It's so just like perfectly paced and perfectly acted, and everything is just absolutely spot on perfect. This scene is taught in colleges as far as like just dialogue in general and like the pacing, and as far as like the old Hitchcock thing of like when you show the have you ever heard the Hitchcock quote of like if you blow up a bomb, you surprise the audience for a second. If you tell the audience the bomb is there and just like like meander through scenes as they're near the bomb, then you have people on the edge of their seat for 20 minutes. I'm paraphrasing it, but that's like an old Hitchcock thing. That's basically like what he does when he like shows that they're like they're underneath the floorboards.
Right.
And then like the cherry on top, when he switches to English, you just think it's them making the movie approachable for American audiences.
No, it's literally they don't speak English.
It's literally they don't speak English, so he can talk to him and make it where they don't run away. Is fucking genius. So this being the best thing he's ever written, even I think even better than any scene from Pulp Fiction, and you know how much I like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
So I totally get that when you switch, it's like a roller coaster ride of tone, going from that, which is just like gut wrenching, intense, just perfection, to some of the more cartoonish aspects of the bastards themselves. I totally get like that disconnect, but man, is that scene fucking amazing.
That scene is so good.
Like that scene alone to me makes the movie worth talking about, just because
we could, well, knowing us, this wouldn't be very difficult, but you could do an entire podcast in just that first 20 minutes, dude.
It's fucking gold. Another like really, really cool thing is there is a YouTube video where someone tracks through the script as the scenes are happening. So like the images of the dialogue is actually like popping up on screen next to the actors as they're doing the lines and everything, and you can see how Tarantino like builds the scene on the as far as just the script itself. It's really interesting just to kind of like see how he builds his tension in the script alone without even having to put it in film. Like if you were reading it, you're on the edge of your seat. And it's just a fucking, it's just words on a page. It's really, really great writing. I'm sad you didn't like Brad Pitt. I love the Brad Pitt stuff in this. He's so like fucking weird. That voice is so weird.
Yeah, he just drove me insane the entire time.
I loved it.
Like it felt
you have a thing with accents. Like, didn't Logan Lucky like perturb you just because they had accents? Like, you just hate Southern accents.
Well, no, Logan Lucky perturbed me because I couldn't understand what the fuck they were saying. Like, I needed subtitles for that movie because their accents were so bad. I just could not understand what they were saying at all. The second time I watched it, it wasn't as bad, but the first time, I just could not hear what they were saying.
So what was it about his like voice for this? Was it just you just didn't like the character?
The character, I mean, the character himself is okay. I mean, like I said, he's not needed in the movie, but I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. Like, that's a fucking choice, I feel like, and I just don't know why he's doing the worst impression of Foghorn Leghorn he could possibly do.
It's not like South Carolinian though. He's doing just like this like weird Tennessee.
I think that's it. He sounds like Andrew Garfield trying to be from Tennessee in Doctor Who. Like, it's just the worst.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I laugh at almost like everything he says in this movie because I think the some of the shit he does is like so over the top, and I love a lot of the one-liners they have, especially like towards the end when he's the do you at least like the scene in the bar where it's like another rendition of the opening a little bit?
Well, now
where it's just
once we bring in Fassbender and Kruger and we just have a sit down at the bar, that was interesting. I can't remember. I can't remember the other guy's name. The officer that sits down. Is it
Hellstrom? The general that comes in. Yeah. That scene's also awesome.
That scene was pretty good.
Yeah, again, it's just like, 15 minutes, people talking, and then you eventually get to the point where you're just on the edge of your seat the whole time, and it's just people talking. And then when the guns start shooting, I like how the gunfight is over in about 4 seconds, and like 20 people just got killed in like the most like Tarantino way ever.
Which, I mean, gunfights in real life. I mean, the shootout at the OK Corral went down like that. I mean, that's how fast guns go, man. It's not like you see in action films and stuff. Like, it is over and done with immediately.
Yeah, so. It's ironically like one of the most like realistic things Tarantino's had in a movie is this like 4 second shootout. Like 20 people and like fucking everybody gets killed, even people that actually aren't actively part of the shootout, like the waitress. Making it like realistic, like when you have people just like fucking shooting 1,000 guns in an enclosed space, nobody wins, everybody just gets fucking shot.
It's a basement.
Yeah.
To be how you show the number 3 with your hand to be the giveaway.
So good.
I didn't realize that Germany did it different.
Yeah. It's like a fucking awesome little quirk to just completely, and then when you watch the scene again, knowing that the 3 gives them away and you watch the reaction of the general is really good because he just like knows instantly.
Yeah. I was wondering if like, because Diane Kruger is the one that says how he gave himself away. I was wondering if it shows her have a reaction to it at all.
I think they don't show her when he does it because he does the number 3.
It's front and center in the frame.
It's front and center where the Hellstrom guy is in the background reacting to it. So I don't think she's on screen. But yeah, I agree. I think that if they would have had a different angle showing both of them, they probably would have had her react to it. So like just because of his voice, none of the, because I think Brad Pitt actually has some like really funny lines in here. He's like, you don't got to be Stonewall Jackson. No, you don't want to fight in the basement.
Yeah, I couldn't listen to him. I just couldn't.
It makes me sad.
Yeah, I felt like Chris Evans, like that Kentucky Fried Foghorn Leghorn bullshit. That's all I could think of. Except no one put lipstick on me.
Yeah, I thought if you could work your way around Benoit Blanc, then you could work your way around Elder Ray, but I guess it's just a different southern state.
Fuck Tennessee is what I'm saying, I guess.
Yeah, fuck Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't know. Anything to do with Shosanna, I liked.
Yeah.
But anything outside of that, I just didn't see the point in.
There's another scene where they have Hans Landa, where he orders her the milk and make sure to give her like the cream as far as like putting it on the oh god, what is it they're eating?
The strudel.
Yeah, the strudels.
Yeah.
Where he's just like and it's interesting that like that scene doesn't come back to play because so one thing I really like about this movie as far as which characters end up being important to each other's like third act, I think it's interesting how they don't actually like have, because like you would think because of how it's built up that Shosanna would end up having some type of ending tied more with Landa because that's how the movie opens, and for it to be switched to where she ends up getting killed, not because of the explosion or the fire or anything that's happening, just because she gets shot by the actor guy. I like the
Zemo.
ending of Zemo. Probably one of the first roles that kind of put him on the map, I would say.
And he's fucking Zemo. I'm sorry. I love him as Zemo. I love him in this movie, but him being one of two people that have beaten the Avengers makes him stand out to me as Zemo. Like,
yeah, Daniel Bruhl's awesome.
I don't care
Love
how
that guy.
you look at Civil War, Zemo with no superpowers, just his intellect beat the Avengers. They lost. He single-handedly ends the Avengers, but he can't get a date with this French chick. Like, and then, dude, that turn he takes when he's like in the middle of his PTSD and he goes up to the projection booth and he kicks his way through the door.
Yeah.
Because he's been like, okay, like the scene that leads to the strudel scene you're talking about.
Yeah.
You don't know how much of his involvement was in with that, right? With her being abducted and taken there and forced to sit down at the table. That could very easily have been the dude from Man from U.N.C.L.E., right? Just as easily. And that's what you're led to believe.
Yeah.
But, I mean, now I don't fucking know. That could have just as easily been him. But at the time, you know, he seems like the okay guy. He's wearing a Nazi uniform, but of all the ones you've met so far, he seems to be the okay one. And his story is presented to you in a way that it's like, did he kill 300 people from a sniper's nest because Third Reich? Or because he wants to fucking walk away from this? Like,
yeah. What's he supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like he's getting attacked. He's fighting for his own life, and he clearly, based on how he's reacting to the scenes in the movie, he is disturbed by it.
Yes.
You know, he isn't, even though he kind of plays up that he's proud of it to the director and, you know, to Hitler and everybody.
Which, why wouldn't he be? He's being praised as a hero. They're making movies about him.
Yeah,
He's in the
he's caught
spotlight.
up in the moment.
Yeah, why wouldn't he be proud of what he did? But you see that he's clearly not. He's haunted by it. So you're kind of like, you're a Nazi, but maybe you're an okay Nazi? And then that turn that he just fucking takes all of a sudden is just like, holy shit.
Yeah. Great acting on his part too, because he has been acting. It's like some of the scenes. Now, obviously, he is pestering her because he's not getting the hint that she's not interested, and he continues to.
He also playfully admits that.
Yeah, he playfully admits it, and those scenes have the cadence of like a meet cute. Yeah. They have like the cadence of certain romantic comedies that you've seen.
Exactly.
And he is charming until he's not. And it does add like a whole different lens to their scenes together. Like you said, you don't know just how like evil he's been the entire time. You know?
Like even then though, I mean, he's a fucking Nazi, right? But even then, is he reacting the way he is at the end because he was a bad guy all along, or because he's in the middle of a PTSD fit and she's just the thing that set him off? Like, he had to leave the theater. He couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
He's sitting in the theater behind Hitler, who is praising the movie, and he had to leave.
Yeah, and it's almost like he's got like fight or flight going. You know, he's just lashing out.
Exactly. He's the most complex character in this whole movie. I'm fascinated by fucking Zemo in this movie.
I think he is a really good choice as far as what type of character to kind of like flesh out a little bit and have in this movie. Because one of the more interesting things of World War II, just in history, now obviously this movie is taking liberties with almost everything because it's trying to be a Tarantino movie more than a historical drama.
Yes. So
the most interesting thing to me in like real world history, when you look back on World War II, is that great quote where while we're talking about, you know, Zemo and the MCU, the first country that the Nazis invaded was their own.
Exactly.
And
he has that one misleading line of a man is more than his uniform, because she points out he's wearing a Nazi uniform, and that is his response. And you're like, does he really believe in this stuff, or is he basically conscripted? Because a lot of Nazi soldiers were forced into
yeah,
service.
what are they supposed to
also.
do if you didn't participate and you didn't go do all these
Then
awful
your
things? They shot
family
you and
dies.
they shot you and then they would go kill your family.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have no choice in the matter, and that was now there were a lot of just like crazy sons of bitches
Oh yeah.
that were evil and actively did all of these atrocious atrocities and everything, but willingly and gladly, and that wasn't the whole story though.
Right.
So I agree. Like I think, and like a cool thing too is she is thinking about all of these aspects of his character that we've been talking about when she goes to check on him after, because she shouldn't be that disturbed by the fact that she's just shot him because of what she's actively planning to do to all the people in the auditorium below.
Right.
She shouldn't have that kind of emotional reaction, but she starts to, as soon as she shoots him, she starts to, I think, look back on how he was reacting, the fact that he went to go talk to her instead of being there in his moment, enjoying his moment, like his 15 seconds of fame to be in the room with Hitler, as he's saying it's like one of the best movies he's ever seen. This was like, if he was in the mold of a true Nazi, this would be the greatest day of his life,
Greatest
and not
day of
something
his
that's
life.
clearly like disturbing him.
And you throw in the complex emotions of, like, what we're talking about is going through her head. Is he a bad guy or not? He's never really done anything to her. We don't know that he's the one that abducted her. He might not have been, and brought her to the table. It could have easily been the other guy because they were talking about her and he needed to talk to her, and that's just the way fucking SS assholes did things.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the other complex human emotion going on here, we don't know that she's ever killed anyone before. And not only did she just shoot a man 3 or 4 times in the back and he's dying because of things she directly did, it's a guy that survived something horrendous that he should not have been able to survive, that on the surface at least has never actually done anything to her. I mean, at this point she was trying to defend herself. He did burst his way in. I understand that part, but up until then, he had just been pursuing her in, like you said, every romantic, especially wartime movies. I could write a whole thesis on Zemo of all characters.
Yeah, like so like to your point, there are the basic core plot points of a World War II based Nicholas Sparks story between their two characters.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Have I ever told you my Nicholas Sparks joke? Okay, so hey, Ron, ask me what my favorite Nicholas Sparks movie is.
Hey, Jeff, what's your favorite Nicholas Sparks movie?
I thought you'd never ask. So my favorite Nicholas Sparks movie is the one where the young white couple meet, fall in love, break up, get back together, and an old person dies.
Have you ever seen the meme that just lays out the cover of every book and it's just always 2 white people kissing?
But you know what? Nicholas Sparks? You're a fucking genius, because you sold the same story 20 times and became a fucking millionaire off that shit.
It's not his fault. People kept buying it. I mean, what are you going to do?
Just bravo, dude. Because that is the same fucking story every time. And those fucking fans of his eat that shit up, hook, line, and sinker, bro.
Yeah, they're rabid for it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, man. But I also now obviously it's Michael Fassbender, and he's still awesome in the movie, even though he's not in the movie for very long. But I actually like that they have the balls to like have Fassbender be like third in the cast, and you kind of like see that they're setting him up to be like a real like focal point for the ending of the movie, and for him to just get fucking killed brutally in a nanosecond in the German OK Corral. You're just like I remember, like, were you just like shocked when that shit went down? Because they kill like half the bastards in seconds.
I was trying to figure out how they were gonna walk away from it, and it turns out I shouldn't have been thinking about it.
Yeah.
Dude, even when the
fucking
bartender whips out the shotgun and then eats it, like, man.
Some of the lines that Fassbender has in that scene are really badass too, where he's like, if this can be if I'm about to be knocking on the door to hell in a little bit, might as well go out speaking the kings, and he just starts talking in his normal accent and smokes a cigarette.
And then there's a special circle in hell for those that waste a good scotch, and he takes his drink and stuff.
It's so good.
He compliments him on, like, you're right, that was good scotch.
Now, could you please clarify why you have a gun pointed at my testicles? That's another thing too. So one really, really cool aspect of this movie is the fact that he was willing to let so much of it be subtitled.
Yes.
Because a lot of American audiences
will not watch.
Are so stupid they can't be bothered to read while they watch a movie.
We don't read so good.
We don't do much reading.
We don't do much reading.
Yeah. Yeah, you're man. And for the dialogue to be so good, you're still just like enraptured by it, even though it is subtitled. I like, as I'm watching some of those like really intense scenes, like before they switch to English for the opening scene, the scene where they eat the strudel with Landa and Shoshana, and the bar scene, like so much of it is in subtitles, and you straight up forget it's subtitled because you're just like on the edge of your seat, just like wondering what the fuck's gonna happen. Who's about to get shot 15,000 times.
Can we talk about Christoph Waltz?
Of course. It's really cool. He came out of nowhere with this movie. Like, he was a straight up, like, basically, like, unknown, and one performance got him, like, he won, like, literally every acting award for this, and what became just kind of like a staple of Hollywood for a few years. It's kind of nuts.
So, I don't have a lot of experience with Christoph Waltz. I've only seen a handful of movies with him in it. He's always one of the best people in it.
He's so good.
His Cardinal Richelieu is fucking sinister, if you've ever seen that Three Musketeers movie.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Like, my God, he's terrifying as Richelieu.
But what's so cool about him though is, especially like this movie, like, really encapsulates like how he can be very silly and likable, even though like he's just sinister as fuck at the same time. It's like a really fine line.
He's so sadistic in this movie.
Yeah.
Like that beginning scene, he's being all like nice and polite, and then that turn it fucking takes when he just straight up says that he knows he has them under the floor and stuff. Like, my God.
Another part of what makes that dialogue in the first scene so good is the the analogy to the rats and squirrels.
Yes.
Is a brilliant observation that I hadn't ever really thought of much until this movie. And you didn't think about it, like, and he's absolutely right. And for just like to have your character who is so sadistic make these like observations and just make him really engaging.
About people.
Cannot about people. As he's hunting down all of these people, he's fascinating. And the performance, like, and I love like so one of the things that was making this movie like so difficult for him to make was he hadn't found his Hans Landa, and Tarantino talks all the time about how like Christoph Waltz, his casting, just he made the movie. Like no one else could do this character like that. Like, he speaks 3 fucking languages. Like he speaks 3 languages fluently like that. Like, how many people even exist? They found the one dude who could play this character. It's crazy.
One of my favorite roles that I've seen him in. Have you ever seen Alita: Battle Angel?
I have not. Was it good?
He's her father.
I remember seeing him in the trailers for it. Was that movie any good?
I love that movie. It's on my list for this podcast. I wanted them to continue because of it. I got into the manga, and the manga is really good.
Oh, nice.
He looks just like the guy from the fucking manga, by the way.
Oh,
yeah. But he's her dad, and he goes out at night, fucking hunting machines and cyborgs that need to be killed with a hammer with a rocket in the back of it, because he doesn't have superhuman strength like they do. So he turns on the fucking rocket and swings his hammer and breaks their head in. And that's how he makes his money.
Another scene of his that I really like is at the end when he is so fucking sure of himself, you know, and he just knows he's won and this and that, and when they just straight up shoot the guy that he's with, and you can just see like the panic set in where he realizes like he thought he was in complete control, but he's not in control of shit, and you see just like you hear in his voice just like the fucking sheer panic happening when he realizes he's fucked up, and he thought he had played everything perfectly. And he's so cocky the whole time, and for that that flip switch happening is great.
When he is on the radio, just talking about the terms of his conditional surrender.
Oh! I fucking love where he's like, after he asks for the Congressional Medal of Honor, he's like, you know what? Let's give everyone in Operation Kino a medal. And then he like winks at and does like a nod to them. I love that shit so much.
Like he's hooking them up.
Yeah, like he's helping out the guys, man. He's helping out his bros. Oh, it's fucking genius. I love his whole conversation. Oh, it's also, if you didn't notice, it's Harvey Keitel, who is the guy on the phone talking to him.
I was gonna ask you who that was. I knew the voice. I fucking love Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, I love Harvey Keitel as well. Yeah, it's him. He's uncredited. And obviously Samuel L. Jackson is uncredited as
the narrator.
The narrator, yeah. Because you gotta have him in there somewhere.
Dude, Harvey Keitel is always just his character from Pulp Fiction, but that's what I fucking love about him.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
he's even like I love to. He's straight up giving him step-by-step directions as the wolf, basically. You know, he's like, so they're gonna handcuff you. You're gonna be in a van. You're gonna go to Allied lines. You know, then they're gonna switch. He's going step by step, just like the Pulp Fiction scenes, like you said.
Yeah,
love it.
It's great. Yeah. And then, like, I love that Christoph Waltz doesn't realize he's lost control when he's being handcuffed. It's when the dude gets shot that he realizes it. And he's let
Brad Pitt's not even looking at him. Yeah. Brad Pitt, while looking at Atlanta, just fucking casually shoots him and kills him. It's so awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah. So it seems like you liked the good chunks of the movie, like that I think are the most important ones, like the Christoph Waltz and his scenes, and it was just basically like the Brad Pitt stuff that you couldn't get into.
The Brad Pitt and the Bastards, I just didn't care about. We could have had the whole movie without them. It'd have been the same movie more or less to me. But
I just like how like fucking weird they're. I love the it's like so he's when they're breaking down who's gonna be the three to go in, and he says, "I speak the most Italian," and then Donnie's second, and then I forget the name of the other guy.
I don't speak any.
Like I said, third best. He has like a lot of great one. If you can watch it again at some point, even just like watching YouTube clips of some of the scenes, if you don't want to sit through the whole movie again, he has, even though you don't like the voice, his character has a lot of great one-liners. Like when they're outside of Stiglitz in his jail cell, is that we heard you have had an amateur Nazi killing operation, and we'd like to see if you want to go pro. He has a lot of cool lines that I absolutely love.
One of my lines, and it's the way, it's all in the way he says it. But one of my favorite lines actually is when Christoph Waltz is like, "Ooh, that's a bingo."
It's a bingo. And like they're when they're sitting across from him.
Like, are you fucking real?
Yeah, and they're just like straight up like not believing what the fuck is happening. He's like, "That's a big if." Yeah, that ending scene where he's doing his terms with them and just fucking with his shit-eating grin, just like having the time of his life. And like when you find out he actually dropped the fucking dynamite next to Hitler, and you're just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He's like, that part actually wasn't a lie. He's so proud of himself. He's just an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome. Because like they present him based on his actions at the beginning that he's enjoying it. And he's enjoying it because he's good at it. He's not enjoying it because it's personal. That's like,
or that he even really believes. It's just he's good at it.
He ends up talking about, like he views himself as a detective, not a hunter. He just loves the chase. He loves there's like, it's funny. There's like a lot of like Walter White to him, where he loves being as he just loves how good he is at his job.
He's a fucking sociopath.
Yeah, just absolute sociopath. Just like couldn't care less about how many people are getting killed by the fucking hundreds. He just like loves the thrill of the chase and everything. It's a great character.
That's what it was. I had to sit through that entire accent for the one line of "Arrivederci," and it's just like, great, thank you, Brad Pitt and Quentin Tarantino. That was the punchline for this whole fucking movie with that accent. Was all this build up to him speaking Italian, and what we get is "Arrivederci." Like, thanks.
I still love you, Brad Pitt, and did you even dislike the Mexican standoff scene? Because I like the standoff scene where he's like slowly trying to come down the staircase.
Yeah, that was okay.
Okay,
that was okay. That my main problem with it is it had Brad Pitt in it.
Poor Brad. I still love you, Brad.
I normally like Brad Pitt. I don't like everything he does. But he's one of those from that era that he's pretty much always Brad Pitt, but because he's good at it, I'm okay with it. Whereas Ben Affleck and Matt Damon just have no energy to them and no charisma. Like, to me, Brad Pitt is always just Brad Pitt, whether it's Fight Club, Ocean's 11, whatever. But he's got a charisma to him that I'm fine with that.
Did you ever watch Moneyball?
I don't even know what that is.
You should check out Moneyball. It's about, oh God, I forget his name. It's based on a true story of a general manager for a Major League Baseball team.
I think I know what this is, actually.
Yeah. So he plays the main character in it, and it's a very like atypical Brad Pitt character for him to play, and it's a really good movie. I think you should check it out. It's really interesting because it's just based on like him using analytics to set up a baseball team, and it's just like it's a real fucking life thing that happened. That like it's pretty fascinating stuff. And I'm not even like a baseball person. It's just a good movie. But he's really good in it. And I think it's one that you could kind of seek out and see something that is different from his usual. He has to be his Ocean's 11 like coolest guy in the room, you know, because that's pretty much what he became known as after Fight Club, I'd say.
Is this the first movie we did after Gone in 60 Seconds?
Yes.
So we both picked movies where one of the leads is named Rains.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah.
It never rains, but it pours.
Yeah. I think I've pretty much talked about the bulk of stuff I had to talk about. I'm sad that you didn't like the Brad Pitt stuff, but I like I said when I opened up the episode with like I totally get people loving the shit out of this movie, and I totally get people wondering what the fuck they just watched, because it is.
That was my reaction through about half of it.
Yeah, I totally get it. It just happens to all work for me somehow, and I love the shit out of it. As weird as it is, but you know me. Like Pulp Fiction's in my top 5 of all time. I'm always.
You see, that's it though.
In the bag for Tarantino stuff.
I don't know that I am like. There's a lot about Pulp Fiction that I just couldn't care less about. You know.
Yeah. It's strange.
I have a lot of feelings about Pulp Fiction that I have about this movie, but Kill Bill Part 1 pretty much works for me because it's a live action anime.
And you know what's fascinating is while I love Kill Bill, the Kill Bill movies are 2 of my least favorite of his.
Really?
Yeah, I typically am more in the hat for I don't know what to fucking classify Inglourious Basterds as, but specifically like the Reservoir Dogs like crime thriller stuff more so than the now obviously you understand like why that works for Rod, because that's like the fucking live action anime is like when they sword fight 1 million people.
Yes.
And there's just the Atlantic Ocean of blood in the middle of the room. Like that's like all catnip for you. But I typically lean more towards his
one of my favorite monologues in movies is in Kill Bill Volume 2 with David Carradine talking about Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
That's the thing. One of the arguably the best scene in the live action anime fucking samurai movies.
It's one of the most Tarantino things. Is
a fucking dialogue about Superman from the main villain at the end of the second part is like the most Tarantino thing that has ever happened. But yeah, I'm at least, you have to watch this movie for those scenes. You know what I mean? Like, just that opening alone, this is like required watching, especially from like just like people trying to like learn pacing and writing. I would say is the first scene of this movie.
I feel like
fucking gold mine.
I feel like we could do a podcast where we would just review that first 20 minutes every week for a year.
It's
because
amazing.
It is so good. We'd have a different conversation every time.
Oh, just one thing.
When it first reveals them under the floorboards and the camera just passes through a cutaway of the floor.
Yeah.
Like, my God. And then their eyes as it zooms out from the floor in between the slats.
Underrated performance too is the dad at the farm. When you see like him breaking down when he has to tell him that they're under there.
Minochet?
Dude, when he, like the way he's breaking down and starting to cry when he has no choice but to tell him is heartbreaking. It is incredible. Like, man, like the opening of this movie can like legitimately give you like fucking goosebumps. It's so good. It's like I'll try to find that video I was talking about, how it goes like hand in hand with the script as the scene's progressing, because especially for like writer nerds like me, it's fascinating stuff.
The scene where I got goosebumps was Shoshana and Landa in the same room together eating the strudel.
Oh, dude, her reaction after he leaves and she can just like finally breathe and actually have a reaction.
Especially when he orders her the milk. It's like, does he know?
Yeah, and you never know because it never circles back again.
And knowing that character, he very well could know and just be fucking with her.
So here's my read on it, and obviously it's up to interpretation. Because of how he is and how we talked about, you end up finding out he wasn't a like he's not a party man, he's not actually drinking their Kool-Aid. He's just along for the ride. I think he instantly knows who she is
and is fucking with her.
He's fucking with her, and also he just wants to see what she'll do.
Yeah.
Because he looks at her as basically like a rat in a maze. He just wants to observe and just see what she's going to do because he's fascinated, because it's just it's just a game to him.
We didn't even talk about that scene he has in Alone with Diane Kruger.
Oh yeah.
Like, that was intense as fuck, because he knows and she knows that he's only doing all this to make a point. Everyone in the room knows that he knows. Like,
if the shoe fits, you must wear it.
And then he just
that his dialogue in this movie and the way he delivers those lines.
Yeah.
He just like, I'm so glad that he just like fucking swept every award, because could you imagine like no supporting actor performance? I feel so bad for everyone else that had nominations that year, because like, well, I'm fucked, because how on earth could you vote for anyone that's not him? Because every line is just perfect. Absolute gold. He's so good.
It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what he's doing. You can't help but watch him.
Dude, after she tells him about the mountain climbing accident, he just has to step away and laugh for like 2 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And they're all just like, God damn it, he knows.
And like in that scene, when the drunken new father just keeps showing up, it's like, God, where's this going? And then you get there and you're like, oh, now I know. Now I understand.
Yeah.
Because he finds the shoe. There's not a woman's body around, at least not in that area. And then he finds the autograph, and it's just like, well, fuck, man. That was
and you forgot, and as the audience, you forget about the autograph, and you're just like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Wonderful
also,
stuff.
One of the hardest times that I laughed in the movie is just like, everyone's dead, and then Diane Kruger pops up, I'm alive. Like, don't forget me. Like, I'm here too. Like, I laughed so.
Dude, when they take her to the vet.
Oh, dude.
It's tough to watch. As he is just trying to get her to basically admit whether she, had double crossed them or not.
And her explanation basically comes down to, what if I did? What can you do about it? Like, this is still your best shot.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, that's basically what all that dialogue boiled down to, and that was pretty good. Diane Kruger's another one. I haven't seen a ton of her stuff, but I like her in the things I've seen her in.
Yeah, she she seemed to be in almost everything there for a while, and then seemed to kind of like slow down. And I haven't seen her in something in a minute.
See, I only feel like I've seen her in like 3 or 4 things. I don't feel like I've seen her very much.
Yeah, she was in a bunch there for a while. If you go back and like browse her IMDb page, she was in a lot there for like several years. It just always ended up being stuff I wasn't particularly like interested in. You know, nothing against her. It was just, you know, in projects that I just wasn't.
I don't remember her in Unknown.
Yeah. So I will close this out just with some like funny behind the scenes casting stuff. Very different movie. Tarantino originally wanted Leonardo DiCaprio to be Hans Landa. Can you imagine how fucking weird that would be?
I think I'm good. I think I
can you imagine?
That's a hard pass for me, man. We didn't talk about how weird it is Mike Myers was in this too.
Unrecognizable outside of the voice.
I kept waiting for Fat Bastard to show up, and it just didn't happen.
I kept expecting him to get stuck on a cart in a narrow hallway, trying to go back and forth, and just not able to go anywhere.
The thing about
another interesting one. Simon Pegg was originally wanted for the Michael Fassbender role.
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can play that, but like Fassbender's like too perfect for it.
Fassbender was just too good.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he can do the blowing and the fingering. So.
Yep. There you go. Also, while they were filming it, so during the theater fire scene, it was projected that the fire would burn at 400 degrees Celsius, right?
Uh-huh.
It instead burned at 1200 degrees Celsius. It almost like incinerated people.
Well, that's what you want.
So a happy accident for them filming.
It was real.
It was 400. No Nazis were harmed in the making of this movie. The swastika was not supposed to fall. It was fastened with steel fucking cables, but it was
melted.
burning so hot that it burned the steel, dude.
And it falls like perfectly in front of the camera.
It falls like it was intended, dude.
It falls like the banner at the end of Jurassic Park.
It does. It does. Oh, I like the imagery of when her face is projected in like the destruction,
in the smoke,
in the smoke and the flames. It's really cool.
Yeah. That's pretty haunting.
Yeah.
Especially since she's already dead at that point too.
Yeah. So a lot of the special effects as far as like the 5,000 people that get shot in this movie are from Greg Nicotero, who did the Walking Dead special effects for all the zombies.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So when Hitler becomes Swiss cheese at the end of this, you know who set that up. Yeah. Just a lot of interesting stuff with the casting. You go back and kind of but I'm so glad that he went with Christoph Waltz, because Tarantino like nailed it when he said like he made the movie. This movie does not like work without him at all.
No, it absolutely would not. He's the glue, because he's the one that shows up in both stories.
Yeah, his quote.
He's the cohesion.
So Tarantino's quote about it. He's
the splice, Jeff. He's the splice.
He's the splice. So Tarantino was quoted as saying, "Christoph Waltz gave me my movie because he feared the part was unplayable."
Wow.
And for just about anybody else, you'd be correct. He found the one dude on the planet that could actually play this character. So it's pretty cool.
Much like the Hulk, it's like he was born for this. Yep.
And take a drink, because we managed to squeeze in one more MCU reference.
Yeah. It didn't. About half the movie didn't land for me, but the Shoshana stuff did. That's the movie I want. And part of it is probably the way the movie opens, to be honest, because that set me up to expect that. But
yeah, so it's tough. So the scene is like so good as a cold open. I also like couldn't resist opening the movie with it. But it's always like tough sledding when you open up your movie with your best material. Because when you because you almost like rather, you want it to be engaging at the beginning, But if everything else that comes after it can never reach like how good the opening is, you always kind of feel like you're grasping at straws a little bit. You know, like you can never like reach that like that precipice again.
Yeah.
But again, it's so good, and it's just such a good introduction to his character. And like those instances where he is both charming, where Landa is both charming and terrifying, like really sets the tone for basically the entirety of the movie. Because when he figures out their plan at the end, you don't know what he's gonna do at all. You know, you don't know what his intentions are. You don't know what side he's playing. He basically just ends up screwing over everybody, including himself, because he overplayed his hand. Yeah, crazy stuff. So any other topics or anything before we sign out?
No, other than I just wanted to point out, you know, we were making a little bit of fun of Mike Myers, but you forget that him and a lot of the Saturday Night Live crew and all of them are legit fucking good actors. You're just used to seeing them in certain roles.
Yeah. The hardest thing to act in is comedy. Like that. If you can do that, you can do anything.
Yeah. So you know, like with Mike Myers, I can't help but wait for the punchline, especially in a Tarantino film. But like he's playing it straight, and
he's good.
He's good.
He's very good. Yeah. Man, what a bonkers fucking movie.
What a bonkers podcast. We had a lot of ups and downs in this podcast.
Yeah, it's all over the place, just like this movie.
Just like this movie.
Yeah.
There's the bow on the end of the episode.
There you go. So I will do a couple of our plugs real quick, and then I will hand it over to you to set up what our next episode's going to be covering. So if you would like to follow the show more, check us out on Twitter, like we mentioned earlier, at SPR Filmcast. You can follow us there for show updates, and also either tweet us or DM us, like any prompts or questions that you'd like Ron and I to talk about. Any ratings or reviews you can give us. Share it out to your friends if you have any other people that would like a Tarantino bingo card of a podcast. Like this was like a Tarantino bingo card and a Ron and Geoff bingo card, because we talked about some MCU, talked about some Tarantino. I'll talk about Lovecraft at the end, just so you can actually get the bingo, because we have to, touch on that at least once. Did we talk about Dark Souls?
Well, we just did.
There you go.
Bingo.
It's a bingo.
It's a bingo. You just say bingo. Oh, this is so fun, but I digress.
Ron, what is our next?
Well, what? I was going to say real quick, one thing this movie really made me want to do is play Black Ops Zombies. Well, here's the thing. Kino der Toten is my favorite zombies map. Theater of the Dead. Operation Kino was said like 19 million times. You're shooting zombie Nazis, and my favorite gun is the MP40, which everyone is fucking using in this movie. And I was just like, I really want to play some zombies now.
That's what they're using at the end when they're shooting up the people in the auditorium, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
also, if you, by the way, just real quick, if you gotta going out while shooting an MP40 at Hitler with dynamite strapped to your leg, pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie, that's gotta be like the most like metal way to go, dude.
The fucking guns that had strapped to their fists.
Oh shit, that was actually like really like where he walks up pretending to be the waiter.
When it goes off like a bang stick. Like my God,
pretty fucking awesome. Yeah,
my God.
I also love the scene when he's trying to get him out of the row of the auditorium to go join him.
Yeah, and
he fucking trips while he has dynamite strapped to his leg.
that whole scene, I feel like, is you and me as would-be assassins. Like, them just trying to edge their way into the middle of the aisle to sit down to begin with, and then later when he comes down, he's like, psst, psst. Like he can't get his attention. He's getting everyone's attention but him.
It's so good.
And then finally it's just like excuse me. Then he falls and he's like, excuse me.
I also love it's really subtle, but so that guy they were talking about, he doesn't know any Italian. Landa actually kind of like gives him a bravo, because he was the only one who's doing like a decent Italian accent when he says his name.
Yeah,
he has him say it twice, and he pats him on the back like, "Good job, you actually like kind of sold it." Unlike your two idiot friends over here.
Arrivederci.
Margaretti. Oh god, it's so awesome. But Ron, what are we talking about next time?
Well, you know me. I like to theme, especially around holidays. We got Valentine's Day coming up. I already burned my favorite rom-com last time, Deadpool.
Deadpool, right?
It's already been a year since we talked about Deadpool, by the way.
That's crazy.
So, it took me a while to come up with my next movie, but I finally...
Your favorite Nicholas Spark movie? Is that what we're covering next?
Kind of. It took me a while to come up with it, but what says Valentine's Day more than a court procedural?
Okay.
Where not only does the main star have to get his cousin off for a murder he didn't commit, but he has to put his relationship with his girlfriend back together at the same time.
Okay.
I mean, come on, right? So, My Cousin Vinny will be our next movie that we cover. Dude. Okay. Not only is this one of my all-time favorite comedies,
it's awesome.
If you've ever, especially if you grew up in the 90s, if you've ever watched any TV show or movie from the 90s, you know this entire cast. Jonathan Lynn is the director. I recently listened to a DGA podcast of him talking about the making of My Cousin Vinny. And, I mean, Joe Pesci is the heavy hitter. Marissa Tomei, this was her second film, and she got this part while making the first film because the director could not cast Mona Lisa. That's her character's name in this. They couldn't find anyone to play Mona Lisa. He walked off set, walked onto another set to hang out with another director buddy of his, and they were shooting Marissa Tomei at that point, and he was like, "Who is she?" And they're like, just some person that did a bunch of TV stuff. And he was like, "I think that's my Mona Lisa." And he just kept watching her, and in between takes, he was like, "Hey, do you want to come film My Cousin Vinny?" And he had to fight to get her. Dude, she holds her own against Joe Pesci in every scene, and in some scenes, she has the better takeaway. Like, she's the one you remember from the scene.
Yeah, I think it ended an Academy Award for her.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everything about this movie, dude, it's the Karate Kid, it's Joe Pesci, it's Marissa Tomei, and it's every single character actor from the 90s all in one movie, including Herman Munster as the judge presiding over the trial.
Yeah, so I would say like one of the most like defining movies of the 90s.
1992.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're almost on the, what is that, the 30-year
almost
anniversary? Yeah, just a little bit after.
Yeah.
It came out in March of 92.
I also highly recommend the Directors Guild of America podcast on My Cousin Vinny. It is so good. One of not only my favorite scene in the movie, but one of my all-time favorite moments in a comedy is in this movie, and it was pure happenstance and accident.
And we'll talk about it.
And we will talk about it because I fucking love it.
Yeah, I love that movie. It has also just been so long since I last saw it that a lot of the scenes will be fresh for me. Basically, like I'd never seen it because it's just been so long. So I'm excited to have an excuse to go back and check it out because I do love that movie.
It wasn't a juggernaut, but it killed it at box office because it's a court procedural. It has a very small budget. It doesn't need a budget. It all takes place in one location, in one room. There's
also Joe Pesci in the early 90s, which was just, free
the
money.
The height of his powers.
Yeah. Joe Pesci. You gotta love just like some of the random like fluctuations of Hollywood where like Joe Pesci is A-list for a period of like 10 years. Like, isn't that just awesome? That like that typically doesn't happen nowadays.
One of the most memorable lines from this movie got written in while filming because it's an actual conversation Joe Pesci had with the director, and he thought it was funny, and he went and penciled it in.
Love that.
They have the entire conversation in the movie.
And I forget if you already said, I think you mentioned earlier in the green room, so it's on HBO.
It's on HBO Max, and it's on Hoopla. Oh, which you can also get Deadline Auto Theft.
I mean, can you think of a better double feature? I can't.
Right? Actually,
Yeah.
I'm going to double check that. I want to see if Deadline Auto Theft is on. Oh, that's right. We talked about this before. I can't actually look it up on Just Watch. It doesn't show up.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
It does not exist. Yeah, so I'm excited to have an excuse to watch that. It's been fucking years.
Yeah, it's one
I
of
love
my
the
all-time
roller coaster
favorite
ride
comics.
of Inglourious Basterds to my cousin Vinny. Like that. I got whiplash already just thinking about it.
And man, I mean, I'm just saying, Marissa Tomei. I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Just saying. I agree with Tony Stark. That's all I'm saying.
And you brought it back with yet another MCU reference. So there we go. I got to end it on that. Thanks everybody for listening and have a good night.